with the news this week, we have some very interesting developments. One of the very interesting things I find about the aviation industry is taking a look at financial reports for airlines. Now, this can tell a lot about how successful an airline is and what their status really is. So this is some of the information I use to be able to determine if an airline is going to go bankrupt or not, and really where they are currently. The year of 2020 was a very challenging year for many people and for basically every company around the world. Now, a very interesting thing did happen. There were 4 airlines that actually turned a profit in the year of 2020. Every other airline failed to make a profit, but 4 airlines actually turned a profit in the year of 2020. They are Korean Air, Asiana, China Airlines, and Ethiopian. Now, the Ethiopian one is the most interesting, but we're going to talk about the other 3 first because they all have a very similar situation which allowed them to actually maintain profitability. We're going to start with Korean Air. In 2020, they reported a $125.2 million profit despite a 44% ticket sales decrease over the year. Now, for them, this has to do with their very dependence on cargo. Cargo has been a big portion of the Korean Air market for a long time, and so when the pandemic came around, they were ready to take on the additional cargo loads, and in many cases they were able to fly their passenger airliners on cargo-only flights. Interesting thing is that cargo-only flights are actually very profitable. An airline doesn't even need to fly a single passenger to make revenue and to actually make a profit on a flight, just because of how much money they can charge for cargo shipments. The thing is, with air transport, cargo can be priced at a premium above any other transportation service because it is the fastest and it is the most efficient and is often the safest method of cargo transport. Therefore, the airlines can charge more than any other shipping company for their product. And many companies choose to do this because of the very quick and effective manner that the cargo can be shipped. Many of your products that you might order online are actually shipped via cargo airlines, particularly if they're a very long distance object. And let's say you put 2-day shipping on a model airplane. For example, you're shipping it from, say, Alaska to Florida, say Miami. That is probably going to get shipped on an airplane from, say, Anchorage to Memphis, if it's on FedEx, and then from Memphis to Miami. And that sort of thing is made possible because of cargo airlines. Airlines that are set up for cargo operations such as Korean Air, big commercial airliners, did really well during the pandemic because they were able to very easily convert those aircraft that they already had for cargo operations into making more cargo flights, and then they were able to use some of their grounded passenger airliners for cargo service. This was also the same situation with Asiana. Asiana reported a $96.9 million profit in the year of 2020. Their cargo fleet is not quite as large as Korean Air, and their cargo network was not quite as well established, but they were able to operate quite a few flights on commercial airlines, such as I was seeing A350s flying into Atlanta and Chicago O'Hare, and all sorts of very interesting things that Asiana was flying. China Airlines, another airline that has a very large cargo operation, was able to turn a $76.3 million profit. So out of these 3 airlines, they had the least amount of profit, but they arguably also had the smallest cargo network established, but they were still able to make some money, which is definitely better, you can say, for about 99% of all the airlines in the world. Now, the final airline that made a profit is a very, very interesting one. Not one that I was expecting, and the way they did it was very interesting. Ethiopian Airlines managed to turn a profit in the year 2020 with an asterisk, a few of them actually. So, Ethiopian very quickly realized that their commercial operations were going to have to get totally shut down in March. So they very quickly decided to convert aircraft into cargo operations, and as well as flights for relocating native peoples to their homeland. These operations end up being fairly profitable, and the Ethiopian Airlines actually turned a profit despite the fact they don't really have much of a cargo operations at all. They have a couple of 777s that they use for cargo ops exclusively, but they very quickly converted some of their 787s and some other aircraft into temporary cargo shipment vehicles. Interestingly enough, the amount of profit that Ethiopian made is very difficult to determine. Unlike the 3 airlines I listed above, which list the profit they make, Ethiopian did not exactly list in a concise and easy to find manner how much profit they made. For most airlines, if you want to find the money they made or lost in a year, you can just look up their financial statements, and of course, any company that has stock is required to post these financial statements. Ethiopian doesn't really do it. We know that their revenue they made in 2020 was $3.3 billion, but we don't know how much of that was actually profit. And so another complication is that Ethiopian also considers their financial year to go into July, whereas most airlines do it by quarters based on a normal calendar year. However, Ethiopian is like some companies where they go from July one year to July next year, so it's really hard to tell how much profit they actually made. And so it is assumed that Ethiopian made maybe a few million in profit. If we had to guess, maybe around $10 million in profit, but not a whole lot. But it is likely, but not certain, that they actually did turn a profit in 2020. They just aren't very clear about how that happened.